In a cozy little house at the edge of a big green forest lived three friends who were quite unlike any others. There was Leo, a lion with a mane like spun gold and a heart full of courage. He was their natural leader, always ready for a grand adventure. Then there was Luna, a sleek black cat with eyes as bright as emeralds. She was the cleverest of the trio, able to solve any puzzle or fix any problem with her quick mind and nimble paws. And finally, there was Max, a golden retriever with a perpetually wagging tail and a spirit filled with kindness and loyalty. Though different in so many ways, their friendship was the strongest thing they knew. One sunny afternoon, while curled up in the library, Leo came across a book filled with pictures of the great ship, the Titanic. He showed it to his friends, his voice filled with wonder. "Look at this," he rumbled softly, pointing a large paw at a drawing of the ship resting on the ocean floor. "They say it's a giant sleeping at the bottom of the sea. Wouldn't it be the grandest adventure to go and see it for ourselves?" Luna's whiskers twitched with excitement at the thought of such a challenge, while Max thumped his tail on the wooden floor, his eyes shining with devotion to his friends and their daring idea. The dream took hold of them and wouldn't let go. They talked about it during their morning walks and whispered about it late into the night. They imagined what it would be like to float in the dark, silent world of the deep ocean. They pictured the immense ship, a ghost from another time, covered in the secrets of the sea. The idea was bold, perhaps even a little scary, but that only made it more appealing. For animals with spirits as adventurous as theirs, the call of the unknown was impossible to resist. It was decided then and there. They would journey to the bottom of the sea and witness the legendary Titanic with their own eyes. But a journey so deep into the ocean required a special vessel, something strong enough to withstand the immense pressure of the water. "We can't just swim there," Luna said thoughtfully, tapping her chin with a paw. "We will need a submarine, one that we build ourselves." Leo nodded in agreement, his chest puffing out with determination. "You are right, Luna. We will build the best submarine ever made." Max let out a happy bark, ready to do whatever was needed. The plan was set, and the three friends felt a thrill of anticipation. Their great adventure had officially begun, starting with a dream and a promise. The next morning, the friends gathered in their workshop, a spacious old barn filled with forgotten treasures and useful tools. Building a submarine was no small task, but they were ready to work together. Leo, with his great strength, was in charge of the heavy lifting. He carried large sheets of metal and sturdy wooden beams, positioning them exactly where Luna instructed. He worked tirelessly, his mighty roars of effort echoing through the barn. He was the muscle of the operation, ensuring their vessel would be strong and secure, a fortress against the powerful ocean depths they planned to explore. His leadership kept their spirits high and their focus sharp. Luna, with her brilliant mind, was the architect and engineer. She had spent the night drawing up detailed blueprints on a large roll of paper. She directed the construction with precise instructions, her clever paws pointing out where every bolt should go and how every seam should be sealed. She designed a periscope from old pipes and polished mirrors, and she even fashioned a propeller from a discarded fan blade. Max watched her in awe, amazed by her ability to turn a pile of junk into a magnificent machine. Luna was the brains behind their project, and her ingenuity was bringing their dream to life, piece by piece. Max's role was just as important. He was the loyal assistant and the keeper of morale. He fetched tools for Luna with a gentle mouth, making sure she had everything she needed right at her paws. He brought cool drinks of water to Leo when the lion grew tired from his heavy work. When things got difficult or frustrating, Max would offer a comforting nudge or a happy bark, reminding them of their shared goal and the strength of their friendship. He was the heart of the team, and his unwavering kindness and support made the hard work feel like a joyful game they were all playing together. After many weeks of hard work, their submarine was finally complete. They named it the Wanderer. It was a wonderful, if slightly lopsided creation painted a cheerful yellow. It had a big bubble window at the front so they could see everything, comfortable seats inside, and Luna's clever propeller at the back. Standing back to admire their handiwork, the three friends felt a surge of pride. They had done it. They had built this vessel not just with metal and wood, but with courage, cleverness, and kindness. Their submarine was more than just a machine. It was a symbol of their incredible teamwork and their unbreakable bond. The day of their departure was bright and clear. With great effort, Leo and Max pushed the Wanderer into the sparkling blue ocean. They climbed inside, sealed the hatch, and with a gentle whir from the propeller, their journey began. The world outside their window slowly changed from bright sunlight to a beautiful, soft blue. Schools of shimmering silver fish swam past, their scales catching the light from the submarine's headlamps. Max pressed his nose against the glass, his tail thumping a happy rhythm against the floor. "Look!" he would bark. "It's like a parade just for us!" Leo watched with a calm, steady gaze, his paws firmly on the controls, steering them ever deeper. As they descended further, the light from the surface faded, and the ocean became a mysterious, dark world. It was here that they faced their first real challenge. A group of giant jellyfish, glowing with an eerie, beautiful light, floated directly in their path. Their long, stinging tentacles drifted like silk curtains, blocking the way forward. Leo wanted to power through, but Luna stopped him. "Wait, Leo," she said calmly. "Their sting could damage our submarine. I have an idea." Using a set of robotic arms she had built, Luna carefully and gently nudged the jellyfish aside, creating a safe path for them to pass through without harming the creatures or themselves. The deeper they went, the stranger the creatures became. They saw fish with their own built-in lanterns and eels that slithered through the dark like shadowy ribbons. Suddenly, a huge shape loomed in the distance. It was a giant octopus, its 8 long arms swaying in the current. One of its arms reached out and wrapped around their submarine, holding them tight. Max whimpered, and even Leo looked concerned. But Luna, ever the problem solver, quickly went to the control panel. "Don't worry," she said, her paws flying across the buttons. "I'll just turn on the exterior lights and flash them in a pattern. Maybe it's just curious." Her plan worked perfectly. The octopus, startled by the flashing lights, slowly uncurled its arm and swam away into the blackness. The friends breathed a collective sigh of relief. Max licked Luna's cheek in gratitude. "You saved us, Luna," he said. Leo nodded, his voice full of pride. "Your cleverness is our greatest strength." They had faced danger together and had come through it by trusting one another. Their teamwork was as strong as the hull of their little submarine, and with renewed confidence, they continued their descent into the abyss, ready for whatever lay ahead on their quest to find the Titanic. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime of travel through the dark, their headlamps illuminated something enormous in the gloom. It was a shape unlike any of the rocks or sea creatures they had seen. It was the bow of a great ship, resting silently on the ocean floor. They had found it. They had reached the Titanic. A hush fell over the 3 friends as they stared out the window, their hearts filled with a mixture of awe and sadness. The ship was majestic, even in its broken state. It was a ghost ship, a palace for the creatures of the deep, covered in rust and sea life that had grown over a century. Leo slowly guided the Wanderer alongside the massive vessel. They floated past rows of portholes, like empty eyes staring out into the eternal night of the ocean. They saw the grand staircase, now just a skeleton of its former glory, where elegantly dressed passengers had once walked. Strange, pale fish swam in and out of the openings, making their homes in the silent halls. Max watched, his usual joyful energy replaced by a quiet reverence. He could almost hear the faint echoes of laughter and music from long ago, a sad but beautiful song carried on the silent currents of the deep sea. Luna pointed her paw towards the ship's deck. "Look," she whispered. "Even down here, life finds a way." She was pointing at the sea anemones and corals that clung to the railings, blooming in vibrant colors under the submarine's lights. They looked like a beautiful wild garden growing in the most impossible of places. It was a reminder that even after a great tragedy, new life and new beauty can emerge. The sight filled the friends with a sense of peace. They were not just visitors to a wreck, they were witnesses to the resilience of nature and the quiet passage of time. They spent a long time exploring the site, their submarine's lights sweeping across the silent giant. They felt like tiny explorers in a vast underwater museum. The experience was more profound than they had ever imagined. It wasn't just an adventure, it was a lesson in history, in loss, and in the enduring power of the ocean. They had achieved their dream, and the sight of the magnificent Titanic, resting in its final, peaceful slumber, would be etched in their memories forever. They were humbled by the scale of it all, and felt a deep connection to the stories held within the silent sleeping ship. Just as they were preparing to begin their long journey back to the surface, a sleek, gray shadow shot past their window. It was a great white shark, its eyes cold and empty, its teeth like rows of daggers. It circled their submarine, drawn by the lights and the hum of the engine. The shark bumped against the hull, and the entire submarine shuddered from the impact. Max yelped in fear, huddling behind Leo's chair. Leo gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles white. "Hold on!" he roared, trying to steer them away, but the shark was fast and relentless, its powerful tail propelling it through the water with terrifying speed. The shark rammed the submarine again, this time with more force. A loud crack echoed through the small cabin, and water began to trickle in from a small fracture near the propeller housing. Panic began to set in. "The engine is failing!" Luna cried out, checking the gauges. "The damage is too severe. We're losing power, and we're not rising fast enough. The shark won't let us go." She looked from the fearsome predator outside to the frightened faces of her two best friends. In that moment, her quick mind saw only one solution, a terrible and selfless one. With a heavy heart, but a determined look in her emerald eyes, Luna turned to Leo and Max. "You must go," she said, her voice steady despite the fear she felt. "I can go outside and distract it." "It will give you the time you need to escape to the surface," Leo and Max protested, their voices filled with anguish. "No, Luna, we don't leave friends behind," cried Leo. "We'll find another way," pleaded Max. But Luna shook her head gently. "There is no other way. Your friendship has been the greatest adventure of my life. Now you must live to tell our story." Before they could stop her, Luna opened a small emergency hatch and slipped out into the freezing, dark water. The shark, surprised by the new movement, turned its attention to the small, brave cat. As the shark swam towards her, Leo, with tears blurring his vision, pushed the controls forward with all his might. The damaged submarine began to rise, slowly at first, then faster, leaving the terrible scene behind. Leo and Max looked back through the window one last time, seeing only the dark water where their heroic friend had made the ultimate sacrifice for them. They ascended in silence, their hearts broken but carrying the precious gift of life that Luna had given them. Her courage, a light brighter than any they had seen in the deep, would guide them home.